Amends. Buffy helps Angel to make amends.
We open in old-timey Dublin, where a dude is running from a terrible accent Angel.
Yeah, my note says corny music, bad establishing shots, bad Angel accent. This is going to be a great episode.
Angel bites him, and it turns out it's a dream, and he wakes up.
And when he was about to bite him, the guy started praying, which you would think more people would do, given that they know that crosses and holy water work against vampires. Angel walks out into Christmas land and bumps into Buffy.
And during their awkward conversation, Angel sees the dude he bit in his dream,
which causes David Boreanaz to try to act, but it doesn't quite work.
The next day, Buffy's talking about the encounter with Willow and Xander, and they are discussing Christmas plans, or non-Christmas plans in the case of Willow.
And Xander makes jokes about how Miss Calendar died. Why are they still friends with him?
Good question. Cordelia is in range of their group, and embarrasses Xander before leaving.
And Willow says,
after what happened, we gotta cut her some slack.
You mean after her boyfriend cheated on her with you, then she almost died, and you kept hanging out with her ex-boyfriend?
Yeah, there's no way Cordelia wants to make amends with any of them.
Oz shows up, and he and Willow have a talk in private.
And he's actually open to discuss getting back together with Willow. He says he misses her, and is willing to give her another shot. And they start to make amends.
At one point, he says that he doesn't know if things will ever actually be over between her and Xander, which is not what I wanted to hear. And Oz might be the only person in the show that I don't have any problems with at this point. I mean, I still like Giles, but he's kind of an idiot.
Buffy and Joyce are out tree shopping, and Joyce suggests inviting Faith over for Christmas Eve, which made me realize that she hasn't been around for a while.
Buffy is a piece of shit, so she tries to fight it, but reluctantly agrees, and suggests inviting Giles, which makes her mother uncomfortable.
And immediately shuts that down due to their recent activities in band candy.
Buffy finds a patch of dead trees, and the owner ominously says he doesn't know why they died.
And ominous music plays to tell us that these are no ordinary dead trees. I guess they weren't able to make amends with Mother Nature.
Angel has another dream, this time involving a guy with cool eyes.
Or cool lack of eyes.
Buffy visits Faith, who is showing her lack of understanding of how TVs work.
That's what I do now, even though it's a big old flat screen.
Yeah.
She invites her over for dinner, but Faith turns her down because she's got a big old party to go to and everyone's going to be there. It's going to be rocking. Meanwhile, Giles is cooking at his house when Angel shows up and asks for help. And Giles welcomes him in with open arms.
Again, he blames Angel for Calendar's death, which, again, makes no sense.
It's going to be tough for them to make amends.
Angel tells him about his dreams and says he belongs back in the demon dimension, being tortured for eternity, and wants to know why he came back.
Which was a question I had since he Terminatored back onto the floor 20 episodes ago, but no one has seemed to really explore that yet.
And he seems to see Miss Calendar, and pulls a Buffy and runs away.
We cut to another flashback, where Angel is accosting a serving girl, and as he bites her, he sees Buffy in his dream.
And wakes up, which causes Buffy to also wake up. They have such a deep connection. Angel is visited by Miss Calendar, who morphs into the guy that he killed at the beginning, and seems to mock him for feeling sorry for what he did as Angelus.
Buffy tells Giles about being in Angel's dream, and Giles says that he has been searching for a reason why Angel is back.
And Xander comes in saying he wants to help, which wasn't suspicious at all.
And then Willow shows up and says she wants to help too.
Because she has nothing else to do. And they have a big ol' researching session.
During which Willow tells Buffy about her and Oz's plans and asks for advice on getting Oz to trust her. Because if anyone knows about building trust, it's Buffy.
Angel is visited by some guy who keeps talking about how Angelus killed his family, and he keeps morphing into his other victims. And Angel finally points out that it wasn't him who did those things, it was the demon inhabiting his body. But the ghost or whatever points out that Angel has been a worthless character since the beginning, even before he became a vampire.
And he eventually falls asleep.
And he and Buffy dream about banging.
And luckily, nobody else is awake in the library to see her outright writhing and moaning all over the place.
And the cool-eyed guy shows up in the dream, and Angel bites Buffy.
They both wake up, and Calendar tells Angel he has to kill Buffy.
Giles tells Buffy about an ancient power called the First. She asks the first what, and he says the first evil. Why wouldn't he explain it that way in the first place, instead of just calling it the First? What a dumb and awkward way to try to build things up.
I agree. Buffy sees a picture of the cool eye people.
And Giles says they are the first high priests.
The Bringers. Must have been running out of things to call themselves.
And Giles says they can't fight the First because it's not a physical being, but Buffy says she can fight the priests if she finds them.
So Buffy and Xander go to Willie's bar to find out where the bringers might be.
And Willie doesn't have much info, but suggests the priests might be underground. And when they walk outside, Xander comments on how much cooler it was inside the bar, which I thought was going to be important in some way, but it wasn't.
Since they don't have enough to go on, Xander suggests they ditch the search and just go decorate shit.
What an intelligent decision. And the way Xander was hanging around Buffy, I wondered if they were going to try to push things in that direction again. I f***ing hope not.
Later, Oz shows up to Willow's, who is trying her best to enter full seduction mode, which was pretty goofy.
And Barry White starts playing all by himself. Now that sounds weird.
Yeah.
I've heard people say that.
She doesn't push a button on anything. Did she have it perfectly timed, or how did that work?
She says she's ready to move their relationship to the next level.
But Oz says the time isn't quite right, so they make out instead.
Buffy and Joyce are decorating.
And Joyce makes a comment to Buffy about turning on the air conditioning, which causes her to remember what Xander said about it being cold inside the bar earlier. At least I thought that's what happened, but it never comes up again.
And Faith shows up because her super cool, huge, rockin', awesome party turned out to be pretty lame and not real.
Buffy goes upstairs and finds Angel hiding in her room, showing that he's back to his creepy old ways.
Yeah, why was she surprised? He did that all the time.
That's what attracted her to him in the first place.
And the First is also there, trying to tempt Angel to bite Buffy.
He cries out like a weak character and jumps out the window. Buffy leaves Faith with Joyce and goes to Giles,
who tells her that she might have to kill Angel if he truly becomes a danger.
Back in his hideout, Angel tells the First he'll die before hurting Buffy, and goes to walk into the sun.
Which the First says is acceptable. I agree.
Giles finds a passage saying nothing will grow above or below the priests of the First,
which makes Buffy recall the dead pine trees from earlier. So she breaks through the ground, which was super thin, by the way.
Yeah, I assume they're watering the trees, especially if they're dying. They'd probably be, trying to make sure they're alive. So is there a bunch of water just going down into the priest area down there? She jumps down and finds the priest, who apparently didn't hear her busting in or see the light coming from outside. Oh yeah, well they're blind. I guess that part makes sense.
They still have ears.
Yeah. She beats them up and maybe kills some. It's hard to see in the dark.
Is that a crack at them because they don't have eyes?
No.
Very insensitive. It's going to be tough to make amends. I'm not even sure who or what I'm referring to. And the First tells Buffy about Angel's plan to commit suicide before turning into a giant CGI thing.
And doing an Evil Dead 2 imitation.
Dead by sunrise!
For being a horror-themed Joss Whedon show, who's known for his pop culture references, I'm surprised they don't really reference horror movies very often in this show, assuming that one was even intentional.
Well, they did reference Captain and Tennille that one time. That's scary as hell.
Buffy goes to Angel's hideout and finds him outside waiting for the Christmas sunrise.
He says the First showed him who he really is, so he needs to kill himself.
And at one point he says he can smell the sunrise long before it comes, which was pretty funny.
Buffy tries to stop him, and they fight. It was very emotional. And they confess their feelings to each other.
He says he doesn't know if he's strong enough to resist the urge to sleep with Buffy, which will cause him to turn into Angelus again. And she tries to tell him he has the ability to turn things around and prove he's more than a monster by turning on the First and not doing what it wants.
And begs him to make amends.
While dumb, sentimental piano music plays, Angel says everyone wants him gone anyway, but Buffy says she loves him.
And my counter-argument was Buffy's just one person, and the rest of us want Angel to just go away.
They keep arguing and it starts snowing, which is presented as some kind of big magical moment. Made me feel like I was watching a Spielberg movie.
It made me think of the end of Edward Scissorhands, because it also started snowing in that one.
Should have just watched that instead.
Agreed.
On the TV, the weatherman talks about a cold front that sprung up out of nowhere and is focused only on Sunnydale. But if it sprung up out of nowhere, it wouldn't be a cold front. That's not how cold fronts work. What a good weatherman. He also says the temperatures are in the high 30s, which makes it very unlikely that the snow would be sticking the way it is, especially if all those surfaces were warmer before.
It bothered me how the snow was falling on the street, because it looks like people had been walking over it for hours. But if it just started and was fresh, it would be smooth.
And somehow, that is the end of the episode. Do you have anything else?
Just regret.
Amends. overall.
At least we got an inkling of somebody actually exploring why Angel is back and how he got back. How many episodes has it been since he showed up? I could see Giles being the one person who doesn't really care because he doesn't like Angel, so that kind of makes sense, but I would think everybody else would be asking why he's back.
I disagree that would make sense from Giles' perspective. He knows more about vampires than anybody. He would know Angel isn't the one responsible for killing Miss Calendar.
That's true. I don't think I've ever seen Angel emote so much. The end of this episode when he was crying and being all cryy and... But it was rehashing things we've already seen, and now Buffy and him are back together. They did it. They're going to be happy and together, and nothing's going to come between them. They've made amends. I totally get the title of this episode. I'm sure nothing will happen to them. And they beat the first, supposedly. I mean, it's not gone, but is it going to show up again? Is that it? What about the priests? Could they find their way out of that cave?
How did they get in there in the first place?
Good question.
Why were they in that cave?
Well, they had to be underground, right?
But you're going to be underground in a place where people go, you know, and right under trees that people are trying to uproot eventually.
Why not just go to a basement in a building?
It is California. I guess rent is pretty high.
As someone who lives in California, I can attest that is true. I thought it was good that Giles is still pissed at Angel because, you know, all the stuff that happened.
Even though, again, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, but Giles, you know.
Should be smarter than that, yeah.
He's got cool weapons.
He'll take any excuse to just shoot somebody with a crossbow, yeah, I guess.
Pizza's here. I'm surprised he hasn't pulled it on Snyder yet. I gave it a C-.
Okay, I gave it a D. This episode was yet another opportunity to make Angel an interesting character, and again, all the elements are there. You've got the troubled backstory, the desire for redemption, the tragic romance, and they still can't make it work because he doesn't have a personality. Background is not character. He needs to be a character. Angelus, at least, has a personality. Angel usually just stands there when people are talking to him. He's supposed to be in love with Buffy, but the way he talks to her is exactly the same way he talks to everyone else. And everyone else treating him like a bad guy doesn't make sense either. Worrying that he might turn bad again does make sense, but that's not the way they handle it most of the time. And Angel even points out in this episode that it wasn't him that did those things, but no one ever says that to the other characters because it would show that their arguments make no sense and would take away from the artificial drama. The first evil was a potentially interesting idea that went nowhere. What did it want? What was it after? Why did it show up now? Is it gone now? Why? Hopefully we'll get answers to some of those questions in the next episode, but I kind of doubt it. And that ending didn't make any sense. It starts to snow and suddenly everything is okay. I mean, Buffy and Angel were just in the middle of beating the crap out of each other. Snow making things better is the opposite of how it works in real life, especially if it's snowing in an area where people are not used to snow. I'm sure there were 1 million car crashes that day. I thought this was the worst episode we've gotten in a while, so I can't wait for the next one.
Alright, you made me lower down to a D+. Those are good points.
I wish they weren't.